Real stories with bold creatives. Captain Off Script Podcast.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Captain Off Script. I am super excited to sit down with James Barnard today. Probably the most popular logo designer out there, but I will try not to talk about logo designs too much today. We'll try to see a different side of James, if that's possible. And by the way, welcome James to your solo show.
Thank you very much for having me. Twice in a space of 3 months. I'm feeling very flattered right now. And also, most popular logo designer. I think a few of my colleagues would have something to say about that.
Particularly
the last guest.
And
who did we have on last time? Mr. James Martin.
Have
you had Allan Peters on as well? Have you had Mr. Allan Peters?
No, not yet.
Okay, well, he's probably next on the list for you. I was just hanging out with him at Adobe Max, and that guy is just on a roll right now. Speaker at Adobe Max. He's got some huge client work coming up, which he was telling me about while we were there. So he's on fire right now. So definitely check him out. I also got him on stage.
Him properly.
I did. Did you see? So for your audience, I did a presentation at Adobe Max about Adobe Illustrator and how to go faster in the software. Did a full demo of loads of tips and tricks showing how to use actions, customizing your keyboard to use actions to go faster. And I got Alan up on stage as a bit of a guinea pig and had him perform a couple of tasks in Illustrator in order to show how I could do it quicker than him using actions and a keypad. And I properly embarrassed him. I put him right on the spot in front of everybody. So I don't think he's ever going to forgive me for that. But if you want to watch it, it's actually up on the Adobe Max website right now. There's no camera, but you can just hear the audio and the presentation showing, and you can just hear the nerves as he starts to, stumble through what to do. And I really did put him on the spot. He was mortified. Yeah, it's well worth a watch.
I have to hear his side of the story now. Yeah, how much he hates you, and
usually does.
So, as I said before, we started recording. You are probably one of the most popular logo designers, and for a reason. Your work is really, really amazing, award-winning, and you are on Adobe Max this year, just five sessions, right?
Adobe Max, it was a full-blown job. I thought I was going there to hang out with friends and reconnect with people, but no, I was working the entire time. Yeah, I did two sessions, repeated twice, and then a session at the Adobe Illustrator booth on the floor, just running through some more tips and tricks. But it was, as jobs go, it was a lot of fun. I got to go to LA for a few days and hang out with some of the most famous designers in the world and artists. And, I was sitting next to people like Magdiel Lopez. He's a firm friend of mine now, and he's now the new splash screen on Adobe Photoshop. And I was sat next to him when it got announced that he could tell everybody, and I got an airdrop to my phone, and he showed me the picture, and I was like, what? It's unbelievable. So it's so cool just to be able to hang out with people like that and to, to reconnect with everybody while I was there. And it was a lot of work. It was exhausting. I'll be honest, I haven't quite fully recovered from it. Jet lag to Australia and back. It was pretty brutal, but it's so much fun. I don't get out of the house very often. And to go to conferences like that, it's just, it really, recharges my batteries. I need to do more networking. There's just not too much in terms of design networking where I live. I live on the north end of the Gold Coast, Australia. And, I need more. I need more interaction. I need more connection. So I sit in my office alone a lot. So that was nice to actually go and, shake hands with people, have some cuddles, and, drink a few beers.
That must have been really nice.
Yeah.
But I heard you were late to your first session not Adobe Max session, but, kind of a freelance event. The Future is Freelance with Chris Du and...
Yeah, it was, So I, pals with a guy called Jamie Brindle, who is, the freelancer guru, and he has his own community and, things going on. And he lives in LA, and he hosted a, sort of a live panel for me, Christo himself, and a chap called Adrian Purr, who's, OMG Adrian on Instagram, incredibly famous videographer, pals with the likes of the Instagram CEO. He just got given an Instagram ring. I don't know if you saw that. Like his Instagram profile is yellow now. He's got a specialized one. He's that tight with Mosseri. So there was a panel going on about, the future of creativity, and I was asked to speak on it. And I was setting off from Brisbane to LA, and it was always going to be quite tight to make it. I maybe had like an hour, spare when I landed. But as I was leaving Brisbane, there were lightning strikes on the tarmac right by the airport. And so, my flight got delayed. So I arrived to my own panel 45 minutes late, had to walk on stage, grab the microphone from the seat, go, sorry, guys, and sit down, try and calm myself after having just like raced to get there. It was pretty brutal. I mean, look, it was amazing to be able to hang out with people like that and be asked, invited on stage to speak with people like Chris Do. Chris Do is a hero of mine. I've always looked up to him when I was, freelance and looking to kind of niche down. I watched every bit of content that he's ever put out there, learned about the business of sort of selling myself as a graphic designer. So to sit next to him on a panel, and be asked, about my thoughts about the design space and about life as a freelancer was just unbelievable. It was really,
dream come true, right?
Yeah, it's a fulfilling moment in my career. I was very nervous, and he put me on the spot a couple of times. Classic Chris. Super intimidating. But yeah, it was great, and to be considered an equal to someone like him was just mind blowing. So yeah, it was really good fun. I was obviously very flustered because I was late and not as eloquent as the other two guests, but it'll come out online soon, and you'll be able to watch the recording of it and judge for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, and after Adobe Max finished, you went to like sightseeing through Hollywood.
That's right.
And
you've been stalking me on Instagram, haven't you?
Yeah,
I had a full day after that. Not even a full day. I flew out in the evening. So I basically had the morning and lunchtime to go be a tourist in LA. And a couple of years ago, I was there and kind of did a lot of the sightseeing. I did the observatory, and I did the car museum. I forget what it's called now. Peterson Car Museum, I think it was. Okay. So much fun, and did a few art galleries and stuff. So this time around, I just went to Universal Studios and was a complete tourist. And going to a theme park midweek as someone on your own there's no more perfect way to experience a theme park. You go right to the front of all of the lines because there's a specialized queue for singles who can, just jump on any. Because it was midweek, all the rides were like, I just basically just walked on every ride. It was fantastic. Went to the new Super Mario section of Universal Studios, did a tour of the studios, and on the tour you can take beer. So I had a little can of beer while I was going around. It's brilliant and the best day ever. So yeah, it's nice little rewards to the end of a very, very hectic trip. So yeah, I think I deserved it.
Yeah. Well, that's really good, and kind of perfect way to end the work week, and
definitely
before probably a too long trip too. Is it like one leg trip
hours.
Or?
It is actually. It's not too bad. As trips to the States go, it's actually one of the better ones on the West Coast. Brisbane to Los Angeles, LAX is 13 hours. Then next year is looking like it's going to be Miami again, which is a brutal trip. It's, that's a really long one. It's 13 hours to LA and then another 5 over the continent to get to Miami. So that will be a killer trip. But yeah, so LA wasn't too bad.
Well, that's one of the good things, I guess. But did your kids miss you over those days?
Of course, I had a list of things that I was supposed to get for my kids as I returned home. So obviously, going to Adobe events, you get given a lot of stickers. Like stickers are currency at conferences like that. People just trade them. It's almost like a competition to see who can design the best stickers.
Okay.
I was very lucky this year that Adobe actually printed some of my designs, and I did it properly, and I got sort of a gold, like a foil stamp version, if you can see on the video there on the back of my phone.
Oh, that's nice.
They did one of my designers' Rubik's Cubes in sort of gold foil and gave them away to everybody. So I got loads. So yeah, I brought some stickers back for the kids, brought some coloring pens and some Adobe plushies and that kind of thing. And then when I was at Universal Studios, I just picked up some bits and pieces there as well, so it's easy. My wife was the trickier one to keep happy because obviously she's had to watch the
that's always
a week
the case,
while I've been away. Yeah, but some Kiehl's goodies from the airport. She's happy. That was easy.
Did the kids get more excited about you or the gifts?
The gift, obviously. It's the first thing they asked for. And every time I called them, they're like, what have you got today? And they wanted to see everything. So I was doing little videos with the teddies talking to each other over FaceTime, which they absolutely loved.
Okay. So if I'm correct, you have 2 kids, 2 and 4 years?
They're 6 and 4. So my 4-year-old is about to start school. So that's going to save my little freelance business. No more childcare payments, which is fantastic. So, yeah, my wife runs an e-commerce business from the other room, this room over here next door to me.
Okay, so you both work from home?
Yeah, we're like an entrepreneurial little power couple. It's brilliant. She runs a business called Hacker Lily. She sells baby hip seat carriers, so one of these little devices that you strap around your waist and you put your baby on the seat and you can just hold them with one hand. It takes all the strain off of carrying them. I did her branding, obviously. A number of, one of the many free design jobs that I've done for my wife over the years. But yeah, so where was I going with this? Yeah, so she works for herself, and we both run our own businesses from home here. And obviously the peaks and troughs of entrepreneurial life, sometimes you have great months, sometimes you have bad months, and they peak and trough like that. So we kind of cover each other. It's pretty amazing to have this kind of lifestyle where we can just, we work from home.
That's
We're always here for the kids.
You moved to Australia?
Yeah, no. Well, my wife's Australian, so yeah, we moved about 5 years ago now. I think it was. In fact, it's almost exactly 5 years ago because I just took my citizenship test. So in a few months, hopefully, I'll get to wave my little Australian flag and sing the national anthem.
Flag, yeah.
Yeah, get my passport.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So I'll be a dual citizen when that comes through. So yeah, 5 years ago we moved here right in the middle of the pandemic. At the time, my daughter was 2, and she had to spend 2 weeks in a hotel room with us in quarantine as we arrived.
Oh, wow,
that was brutal. So yeah, we moved basically just because my wife had lived in London for a very long time, and it was only the fair thing to do to move over here and allow her to be near her parents for a little bit and allow her the grandparents to have a relationship with their grandkids for a bit, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that was 5 years ago. So who knows what
5 years,
the next few years.
Time flies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And are you planning to go back to UK at any point, or Australia is way better?
Well, that was the original plan. I mean, I'll never say never. We were always just going to come to Australia for a bit of a working holiday. But the lifestyle is unbelievable here. It's fantastic for the kids. It's such a great way of life. My daughter now goes to something called Nippers. To your international audience, that is like beach safety, swimming activities. So she wears this little pink cap and goes into the sea and rides the waves back to shore, and they do little activities on the beach, and it's all about like life saving and water safety. And my son is doing a bit of swimming and a bit of tennis and all sorts. So the sporty life out here for kids is so good. I mean, it's good in England as well, but the weather's a bit of a factor there, and it's much more fun as a parent to go and watch your child in the sunshine rather than in the pissing rain.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we'll stay here for a bit longer.
Okay. And is it true? I mean, I assume it is, but that they have in Australia like really huge spiders. Any experiences with that?
I mean, look, I'm not going to perpetuate the stereotype that every animal out here is trying to kill you, but they do. Domestic house spiders are enormous. The huntsman are particularly big. I caught one in a bowl the other day, and it filled the diameter of the bowl. It was absolutely enormous. The problem we're having at the minute is magpies. We've just gone past what they call swoopy boy season out here. So when magpies are sort of nesting, they will attack anybody that gets close. And you have to be kind of running. And my kids are like learning to ride bikes at the minute, which is like the perfect target for swooping magpies. Yeah. And they swoop down and they smash you in the top of the head. And you've got to be really vigilant. And they were like camped outside of our house. So every time my kids left the house just for a walk, the magpies were coming in and like attacking my poor son. So I had, my poor kids were getting agoraphobia for a little bit there. They were scared to go out the front door. So yeah, but there's upsides to it as well. Like we live in quite a la-di-da area of the Gold Coast on the north end, and we have a lot of golf courses near us, and they love to put friendly kangaroos on golf courses.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes we'll be driving down the street and a kangaroo will just be hopping by as we're
come by.
Down.
Wow.
Yeah. And my father-in-law lives in a very nice little estate, and his house is kind of backed onto a golf course. So every time we go visit him, there's like 8, 9, 10 kangaroos just hanging out in his garden. So it's really it's so stereotypical. It's brilliant. I don't think most Australians experience this, but yeah, large spiders, swooping magpies, and kangaroos outside our front door. It's brilliant.
Snakes as well?
Snakes aren't so bad. Yeah, we had one on the driveway the other day. And that's the first time I've ever seen one.
It's like a pet now?
Yeah, we live quite near on the Gold Coast. Everybody lives on the coast in Australia because it's the best place to live. But you go a few miles inland and you hit the hinterland pretty quickly here, and it's like forests, beautiful scenery, but yeah, littered with snakes. See carpet pythons all the time. So yeah, you just don't just watch where you're walking when you're out there.
Yeah, wow. That's another thing to experience a couple of times, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So back to your business. Is your life as minimalistic as your logos are?
Nice. I like it. Well, it's, I have 2 children under the age of 6, so life is carnage, in my personal life. I mean, look, things have changed for me a lot over the last 4 years. Social media has played a massive role in my new life as like a content creator. And, since, that first time of sort of going viral, my life has just never been the same. So it's definitely different to where it was 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Mainly being that I've got my financial pie chart is kind of split in a lot of different ways now. I'm not just reliant on my logo design industry anymore. I have other sources of income, like the teaching side of things, selling courses. I have a small design community, which because you're a part of it, the designers community. That's another piece of the pie. And honestly, it's a bit of speaking gigs as well, things like Adobe Max. So I've actually managed to kind of diversify my income a little bit, but by doing that, I'm treading water a lot. I'm dipping my toes in a lot more different places, and I'm quite stretched at the moment, if I'm not going to lie. I'm doing a lot of stuff myself. I have a wonderful assistant called Beatrice who helps me out with the logo design side of things, and she puts together my brand decks. She does my presentations. But yeah, the logo design side of things is still mostly me. In fact, pretty much all me. And so, yeah, I just love doing it. I don't know if we've talked about this before, but I started out in the publishing industry in the UK as a designer. I worked my way through, and I got to the point where I was just not doing design work anymore, and I was managing teams, and I didn't like it. I really missed the hands-on. So this is why I live the life I do now. I get to do the work, and I really enjoy still doing the work. I should be like creative director or like sort of CEO level. Yeah. I'm 40, but I love the work too much. I just want to keep doing it, which is kind of great because it means that I'm still in the trenches. I'm still using the software every single day, which means I'm in a perfect position to teach it to other people. And, I know programs like Adobe Illustrator, like the back of my hand now, and I can really call myself like a tutor or an instructor in some of those packages. So, that helps when it comes to like, selling courses or convincing people to sign up to a community that I'm running. I know my stuff. I'm Adobe certified. I've got a little certificate behind me right there. I know my stuff from that software. And now I'm teaching it to people on stage in places like LA in front of hundreds of people, which is amazing. And something that, I could have dreamed about doing 4 or 5 years ago before social media.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, you used your baby for the first viral post, right?
Yeah, guilty. I mean, look, at the time I was looking after my 1-year-old son, and I found out that day that I got some designs accepted into a book called The Logo Lounge. I bragged about it on TikTok, and I filmed the video with my phone, just turned it around, pointed at the screen, no microphone, nothing. My son was sort of screaming next to me while I was doing it, and I thought that was kind of a funny take. I'll leave that take in. So halfway through, he starts wailing. I go, I'm like, I just stopped what I was doing, but I left it in, and I think that kind of, led to it going a bit more viral. It had that kind of human element to it, and people were asking me questions like, "How old's your boy? Like, what's the make of that sofa in the background?" And weird little things like that. But that one video just, exploded, and it had like 3 million views, and it meant I got like something like 70 leads in a single day for my business, which was unheard of beforehand. It was more leads than I'd had in the previous 6 months combined, and things just spiraled from there. It's been nonstop ever since that first video. So yeah, just tried to keep that hype train going, just keep the dream alive, and keep making content, and the leads to my business just keep coming in from it. It's fantastic.
How do you manage to do it all? Like, to create so much content and to also have client work and kids on top of that and family life, and how do you
I get asked that a lot. I guess that get asked that a lot, like how with like kids and a business do I find the time to put out 3 videos a week? And the short answer is like I have to make time now. Like I it's actively bringing in a huge amount of business doing this work. I realized this years ago that if I don't do this, my business will go in sort of peaks and troughs. I'll do client work for ages, won't do any marketing for my business. I'll finish up that client work, and then I'll be like, oh crap, I've got no more client work coming in. So you do a bit of marketing, you do a bit of social media, and then you land a job and it goes back up again. And this sort of sine wave of despair just goes on until you start actively working on your business and actively trying to market yourself. And so for me, that was coming in a few forms. It was like writing articles. It was working on my SEO, and then eventually really just pushing the social media side of things. And social media is like 85% of my inbound leads now. So if I don't do it, if I don't keep it going, that will dry up. So I've kind of just got to make the time to do it. So, I'll block out certain parts of the day to work on the socials. So what I'll usually do is I'll start my day, maybe half an hour of admin in the morning, just answering emails and catching up on client amends, that kind of thing. I'll do any kind of creative work in the morning. So working on logo design jobs, logo amends, all of the creative juices kind of sort of flowing in the morning for me anyway. As I get tired and I get a bit of block and I need a break, I'll move on to, the social media side of things, and I'll start writing a script for a video. I've got a list of ideas in a notepad that I'll just kind of pick one from, and then I'll write a script, film it and edit it, post it, usually within about a 2 to 3 hour window. And that's, I managed to, streamline the process a little bit now. I can get it done in a couple of hours. If it's a short one, it's even less than that. Most of my videos are like under a minute long anyway. So, I've got it down now. I've got all my little keyboard shortcuts, and I've got like things like this little toolbox here, like these little macro pads, different one.
Yeah.
This one controls all sorts of stuff in Premiere Pro. So I'm lightning quick in Premiere now. I can really get a video out quickly. And that's cool. Like, it means I can react to newsworthy stuff. If something new comes out in Illustrator that day, I can get a video about it by the afternoon, which means I'm usually first out of the door, which is really great for, virality and stuff like that. But yeah, I just focus on like, case studies. They're a wonderful lead generator. Telling a client case study in a story rather than just showing, the images from a project or, mock-ups, Photoshop mock-ups from a logo job. Used to be, you just post a carousel on Instagram saying, look at this cool project I did, and we'll give a toss. But now I've learned to like frame those case studies as a story and talk about the client problems and the problems that we faced on the job, the rounds of amends that we did and how the client responded to that. And that's way more of a compelling thing to watch than just like me showing off about a cool design that I did. Yeah. And wherever you can sort of throw in a teachable moment so that whoever's watching gets a bit of value out of it as well. That's just like a win-win. So every time I'm making a video now, I'm actively looking to kind of, throw in a bit of a teaching moment. Like I'll give you an example. You see them behind the wall.
Yeah.
My YouTube
we all see it.
Silver plaque. Yeah, it's nice and prominent now. I hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube and got sent the plaque in the mail.
Congrats.
Rather than just brag about that on social media, going, look at me, everybody. I made a video about the YouTube logo and the quirks of it and the triangle bisectional.
Yeah, I've seen
illusion.
that one. Yeah.
And that goes down so much better, and then you cry more in the end. By the way, I got this, I said, from YouTube. Thanks very much. And it's like a bit of a showy off moment, but in a way that gives value back to people, which people seem to respond to. It's great.
Oh, that's a good tactic. I have to try that. Do you have a favorite logo you did? Could you even pick one, or are they like more Well, almost like kids of yours.
Can't choose between my kids. I could definitely choose between my kids. Not my real kids, my logo kids. I like my newer kids better. Any work that I've done most recently is usually the work that I'm more proud of. I always feel like I'm getting better and better the more I do this. Look, I've had work that's won awards. Like Metalama is probably one of my most famous logos. It's a coding platform that uses the C# programming language. So we used a hash symbol in the logo, and the company's called Metalama. The llama, I forget why the llama tied into the business, but it'd been there forever. So I managed to find like an abstract llama icon inside a hash symbol. And all I did was make a couple of cuts in the design, and bingo bango, you've got like a llama icon made out of a hash. And it's so abstract and so simple that it did win a few awards, which is fantastic. My favorite one of all, though, I think, is something it was a really, really small job for a nursery in the UK, like a childcare centre called Billy Bear's Nursery. Yeah, and I used building blocks sort of assembled together to reveal a teddy bear shape in the space. And there's it's a clever design. There's something in the negative space there, but also the balance of it. Like the building blocks are leaning over just slightly to one side. So in order to counteract that balance, I just nudged the nose over a little bit to the left, and I worked really hard on it, and it turned out so great. And, I love that logo. And unfortunately, I don't think it ever saw the light of day. I don't think they ever ended up moving ahead. I think that the business just changed hands, or the person who did the project left and it never got used. But it's a case study project, that one. It was such a cool job. And I love jobs where, clients are, they really value design so much, and sometimes working with me might be a bit of a stretch for them financially, and you can tell like they're wincing when you send them over a proposal that's more than they thought, but they go ahead with it anyway, and they trust you. And I just love going above and beyond for clients like that, where they've really put the trust in and they value what you do. I love to make sure that they're happy. Not that I don't want to make sure all my clients are happy, but the ones where it's been a stretch and it's going to be a bit of a pinch for them to work with me, I'll definitely go the extra mile for people like that. And Billy Bear's was one of those. I just, partly luck and partly working hard, but, I managed to extract this design from this concept, and I'm really proud of that one.
Oh, that's really cool. I mean, I remember that logo, and it's really a piece of art. But what I find interesting while researching about you is that you actually present just one concept to your clients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how did you come to that point? Because most of the designers do like 3 or 5 concepts. Mm-hmm. How did you actually manage to convince clients one is enough?
Well, it was, every designer seems to do this differently. I've spoken to so many different people. I do one, Abiconic does one. Places like, the OGs, the Future, Ben Burns and all the guys, they recommend doing 3. Z Factor, the Angry Designer podcast boys, they do 9, and Allan Peters does 15 sketches. So this is part of it. Okay, so people who do lots of concepts for clients and give them lots to choose from, they're not making 15 final polished logos with mock-ups.
Yeah, of course.
The whole presentation. They're bringing their clients in an iterative process, like partway through, showing them ideas. The trouble is with me is that I can't draw to save my life. I'm terrible at sketching, and it's embarrassing. If I was to show my sketches to clients, they would laugh me out the building. They'd be wondering why they just put down the deposit that they had. So what I used to do was work up 3 completely separate options in full. So I do a presentation with, the vector version done in color with mock-ups, 3 versions of that. And it was draining the life out of me. It was so much work per project. And every time, this is what would happen, okay? They would take one of those versions, throw them away immediately. And then they would take the other 2 and try and smush them together to make some kind of Franken logo, because they like parts of both. And they were kind of like, what's the phrase I'm looking for? They were kind of paralyzed by choice. They couldn't decide. They liked bits of both. They just wanted to merge them together. And that never works. They either have to kind of have a core concept or not. Also, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, I worked on a project where I did this process with them. We got to round 5 and the client ended up not liking any of them, and they'd lost all faith in my process, and they ended up leaving halfway through, and it was mortifying. It was an absolute disaster of a project. So I rewrote my process to incorporate Allan Peters' brand noun process. This is where you get your you get maybe 4 or 5 or 6 things, nouns, signed off by the client before you even start sketching. So you have a great discovery call. You work out, who they are as a company, their origin story, who their target market is. You go away, come up with some ideas, and then you have another conversation with them where you aim to get 2 things, which is firstly that set of brand nouns. So these are 5 or 6 pre-approved words that I'm allowed to use as part of the sketching phase, and a success statement for the project. So that's just a paragraph of text that I can refer back to all the time. So, we're looking to create a solid logo mark that works well on the exterior of an office building, works well in these colors, and adheres to this kind of style. So it's like, it kind of grounds me in the project while I'm working, and those brand nouns and that success statement sits at the top of my Illustrator document. I've got a little section for it, and then I'll bust it out that way. And then, yeah. So I partly to do with that Franken project that went really, really badly, and partly due to incorporating Allan Peters' brand noun process, led to me going down the one concept route. So when I did it, I had to actually, I was concurrently working with like 3 clients at the time, and I had to say to the ones in the pipeline, we're moving from the 3 versions to 1 version, and are you okay with that? And the ones who were in the middle, I was like kind of trying to wrap them up. And so, I moved over, and honestly, I haven't looked back. It's done absolute wonders. I've had work signed off first go so many times, like you wouldn't believe. Like signed off, no amends, to the point where I was getting so good at it that I did a talk about it. My first ever speech at Adobe Max was called "Signed Off, No Amends: How to Achieve the Holy Grail of Feedback."
Wow. There's
ways to do it, but honestly, it's worked wonders. It saved me so much time. And again, so partly to do with the fact that I can't draw for shit, and partly to do with the fact that it just my process is a lot better now, and also I'm experienced enough to be able to pull that off with clients, and to have their trust, and to be able to convince them, on a call, like why this is the route to go down.
Yeah. You are mentioning Allan Peters quite a lot. Is that kind of an apology to him? Or...
Well, no, he wrote a book called Logos That Last, and he gave away his process. So it's,
okay.
But he's very different. He's unbelievable at drawing. He has a fine art background, and I don't. And so, his sketches are unreal, and he does vectorize them now. I was speaking to him about this at Creative South a few months back, and he presents black and white vectors, but he does present 15 of them to the client. So he made a great point that, if I'm going up against him as a designer, which one are you going to choose? The one who gives you 1 option, or the one who gives you 15? And, it's a kind of no-brainer. My question to him was, though, like, out of those 15 designs, are you proud of every single one of them? And what happens if the client picks the one that you don't like? And he was like, yes, I am proud of them. He really makes sure that every single one of those designs is absolutely chef's kiss. And that, for that reason, his process takes, from discovery to first presentation, he asks for 6 weeks, whereas I ask for around 2. So it's a lot longer of a process if you're working with him. You really have to get your ducks in a row. You got to be booking him months in advance if you want a logo design. The whole process with him, I think, takes around, it can take months, 2 to 3 months. I'm wrapping up jobs in usually on average 4 or 5 weeks, but I'm running them concurrently while I'm waiting on projects from, feedback from one. I've got another one going in. So that means I can kind of get more through the door. So it kind of balances out a little bit there. I definitely do a lot less projects than I did a few years ago. Like, I'm charging a lot more these days, but I'm still doing, it sounds like I'm doing a lot more than people like him.
Yeah, I have a feeling that you have managed to speed up every part of your process as much as you could with all the tools you have, with the process of creating designs. And is that the secret?
Yeah, partly experience and unbelievable skill in the software. Not to float my own boat or anything, but I have a course called Turbocharge Your Logo Designs, and it's all about going faster in Illustrator. And the point of I do sketch. I'm terrible at it, but I'm not scanning in my sketch and tracing it in Adobe Illustrator. I'm doing a little doodle, and I'm diving into the software to see if that doodle has legs or not. If it doesn't, back to the sketchbook. Because I'm lightning fast in the software, I'm back and forward between the sketchbook in like a really iterative process. So yeah, there is a sketching element to it. My field notes books here are just filled with rubbish. But it does mean that, in the software, I can work out pretty quickly if a designer's, going to start looking good. And if it does, I'll then get to the point where I'm starting to tweak it and balance it and make it, really stand out.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it's partly to do with the fact that I love going quickly. I'm a very impatient person. Just generally, I don't like to, I don't suffer fools. I don't like to sit on projects for too long. I like to work quickly. And once I start a project, I find it very difficult to kind of stop. But yeah, it's one of those things where my speed in the software is just allowing me to iterate quickly and get those jobs done a lot faster.
Oh, that's really good. But you mentioned your sketches a couple of times. You also showed them off on Adobe Max. And I definitely relate to that part because I do type design, and I am probably one of a couple of type designers that never draws, because
Really?
my drawings, if I try to draw a letter on paper, I have like 3 or 4 like sketchbooks, but they're completely empty. I've tried to do it, but it's just like not my kind of thing. So I go to software and it works wonders there. So
yeah,
I can relate to that part, definitely.
It is intimidating, isn't it? Seeing like people like, I was chatting with Martina Floor last night actually about, a prolific lettering artist.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And I've also spoken to people like Gerard Huerta, who's the AC/DC logo designer and HBO logo designer, and seeing his process and just like drawing these unbelievable sketches on tissue paper and then tracing them in vector. These guys are just on another level, and it's intimidating, isn't it? Seeing people who can sketch that well. It makes me feel very less than when I'm exploiting my work. But I'm kind of proof that you don't need to be an artist to get a good logo design and a visual identity. You can have your skill in the software can fill in those gaps. And as long as you've got the taste and the experience to pull it off, I think, your software skills will cover your bases there.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, I had Martina in the first season as a guest on the podcast.
She's wonderful.
Yeah, and I mean, her work is just like,
unbelievable.
My God,
I got to meet her in the flesh for the very first time at Adobe Max, and we had such a long conversation. She's lovely. I really like her. We had a great conversation about her business, and I had so many questions about studio life and working with a team. And she has a studio that's not part of her house like mine. It's not a room in the corner of her building like mine is. She actually can leave her house to go actually work in an office. And I was like, oh, do I do that as well? I've been umming and ahhing about starting a little agency or a little studio as an office and bringing on a team. Because honestly, I've got so many leads coming in right now. I probably could spin up an agency based off of the leads and handle some of those lower paying logo design jobs with a small team and just churn a nice profit that way. But I'm such a control freak that I kind of just want to do it all. And so selfish in that respect.
No, I mean, if you do it, just don't do it too fast. That's my advice. I mean, you probably have so many leads that you could like hire 5 logo designers at once, but don't do it too fast. I made that mistake. I had a design agency back like 15 years ago, but we grew too quickly. We had a lot of leads, and at one point you just, I don't know, you forget why you started, and also the hiring process needs to take more time to actually find good people. If you already don't know them, like you probably have some people already in mind who you would like to work with, but if you can, don't do it too fast. That's my advice. And find someone to do the shitty work and tedious work like accounting and the stuff, because if you start doing
not a good
that,
use of your time.
Yeah. I mean, I hated it. I didn't find anyone. I did that part and managed people, and all I wanted to do was design. So yeah,
I think that's part of it, isn't it? Like I've worked for, I've worked for agencies. I've worked in-house in publishing. I used to work for a national newspaper, and I was the senior designer on one of those teams, responsible for hiring juniors or being part of the interview process at least. And I've been through that process, and personality is such a huge part of it. Like trying to find people that you gel with on a personal level that you can work with every day, who also have the skill to pull off something at the level that you need and that you're used to. That's not easy these days.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I found Beatrice, and she's, she came through my older community on Discord, and she's been a wonder for my business. She really helps me. She does the part of the business that I don't like, but she's happy to do it. At least I think she is anyway. So yeah, she pulls together my brand guidelines documents. She does my logo exports. She puts together presentations for me. So she's a dab hand in Photoshop. She can come up with wicked mock-ups for me, which is just what I need. So I can focus on the core part of the design and pulling off the logo. She'll run out the visual identity for me as well, and explore artwork and try different layouts for, using that logo in the real world. And that's so important to me. I need people like that. And then, the other parts of the business, I am doing my own accounting. I am doing my own project management. I'd love to be able to hand that off to somebody else, if I'm being completely honest. But then other parts of the business that I'm not so hot at, like animating logos, I have someone that helps me do that.
Oh, okay.
Copywriting, when I need help pulling together a more detailed brand guidelines document, I have someone to do that. And I've built up a little network of freelance consultants now, which it's just the way to start, I think, is start small and then get that experience.
Start small and grow slowly and steady, but that's the way I think. I mean, at one point I had like 15 employees.
Wow.
And it was a mess really to manage everyone. And as you said, I'm also a control freak, and giving away
an HR manager at that point, don't you? Somebody to control all of those personalities.
Yeah.
Well, I got some really great advice from a chap called Josh Hall a year or two ago before I hired my assistant. And he basically just said, write down on a piece of paper the things that you like doing in your day-to-day job and the things that you don't like doing, or that are maybe not necessarily the best use of your time, like project management, accounting, those invoicing, chasing up invoices, that kind of stuff. Write that down on a piece of paper and then try and outsource the bits of the business that are in your cons list, in the bits of the business that you don't like doing. And, if you can outsource them with a freelancer and you can afford it, why would I not do that? It's such a great use of
absolutely
those resources. And I've only done it once, and to hire like a proper assistant in Beatrice, and it's worked wonders. Yeah, it's fantastic advice.
Yeah, that's really good. She's based in Germany, right?
That's right. Very good. She's actually Romanian, but she's based in Würzburg, Germany, which is great because being in Australia, if I send off tasks for her as I close down my machine at night, when I wake up the next morning, they're usually done because of the time difference, which is a great way to work.
Well, that's perfect. Yeah. Perfect use. Not like these podcasts that you have to get up at 6 early or stay awake at night like that. Like right now.
You'd be very kind to me now. It was 7:30 at night when we started this one, and I usually work late anyway. My kids go to bed at 7 o'clock. I'll usually do a few hours before I go to bed because it's the best time of the day for me to get on calls with the rest of the world. And then I have one day a week where I start early in the morning, so I can catch the East Coast or parts of America. Because that's it's fantastic living in Australia, but the time difference is a huge pain. It really is difficult. I think I've missed out on quite a few opportunities because of the time difference. I got asked to be part of the a content authenticity board with Adobe, talking about the content credentials team, and they asked me to be part of the board on that, and I was like, fantastic, of course I will. They're like, okay, so the first meeting is 3 a.m. So it's like, immediately, I'm sorry, I can't do this. And they had to go with somebody else, which is a real pain. So maybe I need to move to America at some point and really capitalize on social media success. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't like it here too much.
No, I mean, it's cool. You mentioned content credentials. I was not in board. I was part of the beta testing. So yeah,
fantastic. Nice
yeah,
job.
it was cool. It was cool to work with them. You are, well, Adobe likes you quite a lot, right?
So far,
So
they
far,
do.
so
Yeah,
good, right?
we've got to keep Adobe Suite, haven't we? I mean, look. I when you do a session at Adobe Max and you do talks there, you get a bit of that when people have finished the session, they fill out a survey, and the results of that survey basically determine whether or not you get invited back next year. And yeah, if it doesn't go very well and people didn't really gel with you, it's very unlikely that you're going to come back again. I have been very fortunate to have some great results in those surveys. Specifically this time around, my Illustrator session was it's just gone so well. It was so well received, and people really liked that. I don't take myself too seriously. Have a bit of fun up there. I brought Allan Peters up on stage and mucked around with him on there, and like made a few people laugh, and they love it. And coupled with the fact that I really know my stuff in Illustrator, I was, people were like clapping at the weirdest things. I was showing like, a couple of keyboard shortcuts and how to do things faster. And people were like applauding. I was like, I'm British. This is weird. Like, we don't do applause in Britain, so it was amazing. And, those survey results have gone really, really well. And thanks to that, I've got a great relationship with the Adobe team now. And also the people that work there, they are incredible. They're so I'm like friends with so many of that team now. They really are a great bunch to work with. It's so much fun. You just have to show up and be a professional. It's a company. It's a big company. Treat when you get that opportunity to work with them. The first time I worked with them was on an Adobe Live stream with the Australian team here. Just did a good job. You show up. You answer your emails on time. You meet the deadlines that they give you. You don't take the piss. You don't, cause friction, and you end up, working with them more and more regularly, which is a great thing.
Yeah, those are good tips to know, I guess. Yeah. What do you do in your free time? Like, what does James do?
Free time? Free time? Yeah.
What free time?
Okay, so obviously I'm a dad. I've got a lot of responsibilities there, but I like the fact that I've created this freelance life where I can be home and tuck the kids in at night and be there for every dinner. There's no commute. I'm, literally outside the door. I like to fish. This is something I picked up in Australia. Wow. I don't get to do it too often these days, but I had no idea. I'm an absolute fishaholic. It's so much fun. You don't need a license like you do in the UK to go fishing. You can just go out to the sea with a rod and have some fun. Obviously, there's rules about like what you can catch and what you can back,
of course.
But it's great. It's so freeing. And when we first moved here, I moved to a place that was like next to a canal, and I was in there every day when the kids were a bit younger. Now they're a bit older. They're a bit more hands-on. I don't get as much time to do that. A bit of a fitness, not a fitness nut, but like I was saying before, I don't get much human interaction because I'm in this office all day long. So the gym is very important to me. I like going and doing my classes, and I like going to see the guys at the gym every day. It's the one part of the day where I actually get to see people and talk to people in real life. And I play football on Tuesday nights, and I'm in a running club. So yeah, people are very sporty in Australia. They love being active and being healthy, and I'm all for that. I just got there's another downside to Australian life. Well, not a downside, but the drinking culture is a bit strong here. So, everyone's always got beers in the fridge. So all the exercise I do, all the weight gets put on immediately after I've had, beers all day long. But yeah, it's not the worst way to live.
Yeah, it's quite similar to Spain, I would say. Like, people start drinking early in the day. I was just talking to Snask, the duo from Sweden. They are really amazing, and it's completely different. Here, it's completely normal to, for example, see an elder couple at 11 in the morning having a beer in a terrace. Like, normal thing. Yeah, but so we drink here a lot as well. So yeah.
Well, look, I work in my
lifestyle.
office. I don't have a boss. There's no one stopping me from doing that. But the trouble is these days is that I'm now in my 40s. The second I have anything to drink, I'm like just falling asleep the next minute. So I do have to be a little bit careful there.
Well, that's a downside of having kids and
yeah, just general chronic tiredness.
Yeah. Did you on purpose design the life you have right now, or it came kind of spontaneously? Or
I'd like to think that was clever and this all happened by design, but honestly, it was just a series of events that just took place that led me to this position. I was I started graphic design a lot later in life than most people. I started at the age of 25. Didn't really know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I moved to London out of university. I studied music, multimedia, and electronics at uni. I wanted to be a record producer. I used to play the drums in a band, so I was thinking, I'm going to be in a studio making records for people. When that didn't pan out after I moved to London because there was just no work, I took an office job where I was like a data entry person. Like I basically just sat behind a desk and input data. And then as part of that job, I picked up a copy of Photoshop and made this small company that I worked for. I made their company intranet, like the first one they'd ever had. I did it in WordPress, so I learned how to use WordPress websites. Picked up a copy of Photoshop to compress a few images, and I was like, oh my God, this is so much fun. And then I basically just decided to become a web designer after making this first WordPress intranet. So I took a few local businesses and made them a free website. So I did like a local chiropractor and a local interior designer. And I used those free rubbish websites to get my first job as a designer at Runner's World magazine. And that was where it all kind of took off. And I was 25 when that happened. So I actually took a massive pay cut from my current job in order to take that junior design position. But I'm so glad I did. It was hard. Like I really did take a huge cut. It was something like, I'm going to reveal my salaries now, what it was. I was on at the time, and this is like 15 years ago, something like that. It was like 25 grand a year. No, sorry, I was on 30 grand a year, and I went down to 24 grand a year to take my first job at Runner's World magazine. So it was a hefty pay cut. But yeah, just, worked my way up, sidestepped to another agency where I met my wife. We met at Bauer Media, which is another massive magazine company in London. Went to the Daily Telegraph, and then eventually got to the Times and the Sun newspaper group, working for the in-house agency there that was kind of in-house doing their design work. I absolutely hated it. Like I was just putting out fires all the time. I wasn't doing any design work. I was just managing problems, and it was a nightmare. And so I quit. I left. I was so unhappy. I left after about 6 weeks in that role, and I went freelance to pay the bills while I tried to find a new job. I went to loads of agencies around London thinking I'll work for these few companies and while I try and find something new, get some money coming in. And I just realized this freelance life is the best. I can just, pick the places that I want to work for. I'm suddenly now working for loads of different clients at once. You're working for an agency, you're working 10 different jobs. It's so fulfilling. And yeah, just kind of kept that ball rolling for a few years. I was like a gun for hire at agencies all around London. Started from one place to another. So I got some great experience in agency life. I worked for Havas Worldwide and MRM and McCann and all those big agencies in London.
Yeah.
And and then COVID hit and everything stopped. And by that point, I had a few retainer clients going on, just doing generic graphic design work. And then while I was sat in COVID, after my first child had been born, Elodie, I was like a stay-at-home dad at the time because my wife earned way more than I did. So I decided to be the one to stay at home. And while Elodie was sleeping, just to bring in some money, on the side, I was doing logo design jobs. And I was like, this is great. So yeah, long story short there, but that all of those chain of events led into me becoming the logo designer that you see before you. And that was,
would you ever go back to working for someone?
I don't know. Never say never, but I love the freedom of being, running my own studio. It's so fulfilling. It has its ups and downs. Some months are tighter than others, and cash flow is always a problem in an agency. And my wife's company, she does amazingly well, but all of the profit for her business goes back into the company. So there's a bit of pressure there for me to kind of, pay all the bills from time to time. And sometimes I feel it more than others. And, but this lifestyle is so good. I start my day at like 11:30 after I've been in the gym in the morning. Like what job could ever do that? It's fantastic. And, and then the other half of my time I just muck around making videos for social media all day, getting paid to do it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's true. No agency can offer you that.
No,
I'm sure.
You're right. That's right. Yeah. Screw the 9 to 5.
I read somewhere that you like taking afternoon naps.
I used to. Don't get to do that so
used
much
to,
anymore.
not anymore, right?
No time for naps these days when you run your own business. But yeah, that was part of the appeal of freelance life, is just being able to pick your own clients and run an errand in the middle of the day or go for a nap whenever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's some life.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about designers community. Why did you start? I mean, what's the idea behind that?
All right. Well, look, like we were saying before, I spend most of my time in this office on my own all day. When I go to design conferences like Adobe Max, it just recharges my batteries. I love nerding out about design with other people who are also interested in it. Now I've got a bit of, a community through social media and I like, responding to the comments on my videos, but it's not quite the same when people are like, commenting on your stuff and then you're having conversations in the comments. So I thought I'd spin up this community, to get a bit of human connection back in my life, speak to people on a daily basis that AI can help, and you're just, interested in what I'm interested in. I'm not going to lie. There's definitely a financial side to it. Like it's a great way to earn a bit of passive income on the side. And I took a bit of flack when I first launched the community because I priced it quite high. But at the same time, I didn't want it to be, I put out a wait list for people to see if they wanted to join. I had something like 12,000 people sign up to the mailing. So something huge like that. It was massive. And so I was just like, I cannot like help that many people if they all come on board. If I make it free or very, very cheap, it'll be a swamp. So I made it, I priced it pretty, hefty price tag. But that way, the people who are coming on board, I know are like absolutely want to be there. And it's been so great. We have a guest speaker comes on every week. So we've interviewed like 12 people now. We had Martina come on last night. We had Carl Tillman, an illustrator and muralist around the corner from me. We've had people from Adobe come on board. We had James Martin, Made by James, came on and talked to the guys. It was fantastic. And then I do a weekly call, so I get to chat with people on a weekly basis. And then we just have little sections like an inspiration section. We have design challenges where you can win prizes. And one of the greatest parts of it is feedback on your work. So before you send a job off to a client, share it with the guys and get some quick feedback on it before anybody else sees it. And then we have like a rule in the community, we don't share anything outside of the community. If anything that's shared internally gets released into the world, that's an immediate like ban, you're gone. So it's like a kind of like unwritten NDA for projects, and it allows me to share projects that I'm working on, which kind of, helps me because I can get a few eyes on it and check for like massive mistakes that I've overlooked. And also a bit of a teaching moment for other people as well. They can see the behind the scenes of my process and see how it all works from somebody who's been doing this a while. So it's wicked, man. I'm enjoying it so much. I don't know about how you found it, but so the feedback's been brilliant. The tricky part is the time difference. Like I have a lot of people in there from the States and a lot of people from Europe, and when I do live calls, it's not always convenient for people. So we're trying to sort of work around that. But on the same page, everything is recorded, so everything's on demand. If they can't make it, they can watch it back again. So I'm having so much fun. It's been so fulfilling. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I was going through the videos of your chats. I watched a couple of them yesterday. And as you said, the time difference is sometimes bad. There was like 2 or 3 people in the last one.
Yeah.
Because
do you know
podcast,
why?
Right?
Yeah, because of this podcast. Because I normally have Thursday evenings free for it, and you blocked up my calendar, so I had to do it at 9 a.m. in Australia time, and no one could make it. The 2 people that did come, one was up at 2 a.m. to do it, and another person joined halfway through at 6 p.m. in the States, and
Ryan,
didn't
right?
have to come in. Ryan Silver, the guy from Adobe Live. He's a community member as well.
Yeah.
Incredible. And also, any guest speakers that come on board get to be part of the community, and so we have some pretty famous names in there now. Gerard Huerta is a member of the community.
And
not that he, posts too much, but you can DM Gerard if you want to, which is fantastic.
Yeah, well, I actually found it really cool, and I didn't have much time lately because I had only this week I'm recording like 7 sessions for the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 more later today, and it's been quite busy, but every now and then I go in and watch the sessions you had with previous guests and the ones you do with the community, and it's really cool. And also, if there are times, to comment on logo redesigns, and yesterday there was I cannot remember the name, but it was a cool redesign of that. I think it's a soft drink or something.
Oh, the one that Ryan shared. Yeah. Well, this is part of it. It's just like having discussions about rebrands that will come out, and we have like a news section. We just get to talk about nerdy stuff about design.
Yeah.
It's great fun. Recommend each other tools, and occasionally I'll show a software tip or trick here or there. It's great, man. I just love it. I love nerding out about this kind of stuff, and I very rarely get to talk to people about this kind of stuff on a one-to-one basis or one-to-many basis. So yeah, it's been so much fun. I'm really, really enjoying it. And also like the design, we have like a design challenges section where, less experienced designers can practice answering a brief. And then we got like prizes for them as well. Like, we've had prizes like a year's free Adobe CC subscription, or like a macro pad from Work Louder, keyboards, all sorts of stuff. I've got some really great prizes coming in from some friends of mine, which is fantastic. Yeah, this is my new job now. I wake up in the morning, I answer questions on the community, and I'll run a live session each week, and I'll try and get a guest speaker every week. It doesn't always work out, but we've done some great feedback on it. It's been fantastic.
Yeah. I would definitely recommend it,
Thank you
to anyone who's listening,
nice,
and
thank you for letting me plug it.
I will link it up in the session description. Yeah, I loved it. One last question. I will not keep you for too long. It's already a bit late.
It's only half 8.
Probably...
It's half 8. It's not too bad. Yeah, I'm a little bit tired. I was up at 5 this morning. Sorry, that's another thing they never told me about when I moved to Australia, is that life starts early here. You want to get exercise done. You want to get up early and get it done. The most popular gym class at my local gym is 4:30 a.m. because it just gets too hot later on, which is crazy.
But that's totally crazy. I mean, here in Spain, people usually don't get up until 8, 9.
Lucky.
Yeah, it's completely different because I don't know. And the work starts around 10 in the companies. It's not like 8 a.m., but it's 10. So it's,
And you all have naps in the middle of the day. You have siestas, don't you, at lunchtime?
Well, some of the companies do. I, as a freelancer, do. I still have those afternoon naps, and I try to sneak them in. It's been interesting living here. But the last question is kind of more serious. Mm-hmm. If you could give just one advice to your younger self, what would that be?
It would be start graphic design early. I started late. I started too late. If I'd have started out of university now, Lord knows where I'd be right now. I started at the age of 25, which was quite late in the grand scheme of things. I think had I started at the age of 18, I would be, flying right now.
A machine all over the world.
Yeah. Can't imagine where I'd be. It might be a lot different, might never have met my wife.
That's true.
Never have done all sorts of things. But yeah, start early, get going as soon as possible would have been what I said to myself.
Amazing. Okay. Yeah. That was an easy one. I thought it would be a bit harder, but yeah. Oh, no problems. Well, thank you, James. I really had a pleasure talking to you again. And let's see if there are some new projects down the road we can chat about again. And I would love that.
Sure. I got some wicked clients in the pipeline. I can't talk about it just yet, but I'm working with a couple of like internet celebrities right now. Excited about it. Could be really good. So maybe by the time this is out, they might be live and you'll all know about it. But I'm buzzing with excitement. It's one of the things about, doing well with social media is that getting my work in front of a few more eyes right now, and some big clients are starting to come out of the woodwork, which is fantastic. So yeah,
amazing.
Look forward to that.
Oh, and congrats on 600,000 people on Instagram.
Thank you very much. Yeah, not that followers means anything these days. Followers. The follower is dead, as the CEO of Patreon says. Honestly, every video has to just be an absolute banger to get seen now. So yeah, followers doesn't really mean anything anymore. But thank you. I appreciate it. It's very cool.
It's an accomplishment in its way. Yeah.
Cheers, mate.
Well, thanks once again, and I really hope we chat down the road once again.
Sure we will. Thanks a lot, Alan. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, and bye-bye, everyone.
Real stories with bold creatives. Captain Off Script Podcast.